everyone, to another episode of Spooky Japan Podcast. Hoping everyone is doing well. Still another hot one here in Japan, as Irene can probably tell you. Today we have
Ye-
a very special guest with us, Mandy from the Ghost Sisters. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
We love having women on our show just because we know the struggles of women in the paranormal. Now, as
mhm,
I say this, we always remind our male friends in paranormal, we still love ya.
mhm.
We can relate to the struggles of the women in paranormal. So, women support women in the paranormal.
Most definitely. I mean, been a lot of guys around, but there's hardly when it comes to being a woman. It's like, well, you can go and do your laundry and do everything else, and come back when you're ready. And go,
It
you know
is
how it's.
hard. I agree. It is hard. And you don't see a lot of female teams out there. But I
Oh,
have
yeah.
noticed since I started my team, there is been a lot more coming out. So
Mm,
there's been a somewhat of an increase in that I've seen since about 8 years now doing this.
It was
and
definitely male dominated, and we're happy
yeah,
to see that more women are starting to get involved.
Yep.
and we're not taking quite seriously because they said you have to be male to do this job, and I said, why is that? They don't give you an answer because they just say, because. I go, because why? Like, nah.
I've never heard someone say that yet to me. Hopefully
Ooh,
I
I
don't.
heard somebody say that to me. That's been said to me many times, and I said, mm hmm. Like, it's just unbelievable, right?
It is.
So, for our listeners out there who may not be familiar with who you are, how would you introduce yourself and where did your journey to the paranormal begin?
Well, my name is Mandy Cummings. I'm from Marion, Ohio, and
Mm-hmm.
I started this back in October 2017 with
Mm-hmm.
my older sister and another lady that I used to work with in law enforcement. I worked in law enforcement for almost 8 years, and I was in law enforcement when I started the team. So originally it was women in the front, and then we had one or two guys that were like behind. They set up the equipment, they did the research, but it was always about us women in the front.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Mm.
started it back in 2017, and then along the way we've had other women join us, and then it didn't work out with other women, and then we eventually got all the men off the team, and we made it a true female paranormal team, and then eventually became where it was my biological sisters. So it's been a long journey. I started it because I have had experiences since I was young dealing with spirit, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
also a medium, and so it all goes hand in hand. Everything has just aligned up for me the way I feel it's supposed to line up. And I
Mm-hmm.
started my mediumship before I did start my team,
Mm-hmm.
so it was just everything aligning all at once, and here we are.
Irene is clairvoyant, and I do have medium abilities, but I hid them away for a
Mm-hmm.
while, and now they're coming back out, and they're just like something about when you have the gift, they're just like, nope, you
Hmm.
can't hide it. So, and the spirit's been telling me I need to work on mine more because
Hmm.
they said there's gonna be a reason. They didn't say what the reason is. They're like, you need to start doing this now.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we're gonna say, and I'm yet to. And unfortunately, they're getting a bit not
I'm
happy with
also,
me on that. So,
I'm also a level 2 Reiki practitioner, so I do a little bit of everything.
I think if you were kind of like as a child being told not to bring it out, you
Yes,
kind of
it's
like
locked in.
ignore it, and then you forget, and then all of a sudden you're an adult now and you want to bring it out, and it gets a little bit harder as an adult to bring it out. So yeah, especially if your family didn't support it, it must have been really hard. And I kind of like understand it, but in my house all my kids have it, so we're all
her family.
we're
So
all we're all going crazy loony around him. My husband's the only one who doesn't get it, and, and we're saying yeah. And so he tries to stay in his spot, and we're all just running around like this. It's just absolutely hilarious sometimes.
that was
This is
my story though with the with because I grew up as a Baptist minister's daughter.
yeah.
Oh,
So yeah. So when I had it as a child, and of course every this is my experience with the with religious part of the
Mm-hmm.
paranormal gifts, and I always hope other people's experiences are different. Unfortunately, people have reached out to me and said they've had similar experiences,
Mm-hmm.
but with the church, as a child, when you have the gift, oh, it's such a gift from God. Like, you can see angels and demons because everything is a demon to them.
mm,
Yeah.
So then, once you get older, you're not a kid, and you can still see them.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, it turns into something else where I don't understand what they think changed in me. Where because I lived a very strict lifestyle due being the minister's daughter. So they assumed because I still had the ability that I was out there doing witchcraft. And the only thing I knew about witchcraft at the time was the Hocus Pocus movie. And I'm like, I'm clearly not the Hocus Pocus girls. And I'm like, no. But it's hard to explain to them. Like I really don't know anything at the time about witchcraft. Been doing witchcraft, but no one believed me.
mhm,
So they assumed I had to be doing that, or I had to be doing something where I had a demon attachment, or a demon possessed me to be able to see demons. And I'm like, I'm not. And it was so hard to try and explain. I'm not doing anything. I don't have an attachment. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
possessed.
Yeah.
A couple of times they tried to exercise it out of me. And I was more afraid of what's going to happen once they realized nothing is coming out of me. Because I'm like, what happens when they. Does it get worse? So yeah, I
yeah.
had to hide the gift. I had to push it down. I'm like, yeah, this is clearly not a good thing to use. Then finally, you get on your own, and everyone's like, no, obviously, not everything is a demon.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not something scary. It's not something scary to use.
Yeah.
But now the gift is coming out more, and you're like, yeah, you're gonna start using this whether you want to or not. Basically, I know Irene feels that because she was kind of late into developing her gift. Where eventually, when you have it, they just come and they're like, yeah, you're gonna use this, so we're gonna start talking to you now.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden I said, okay, I gotcha. I can hear you. Stop telling me to do this. Like, leave me alone. That's where I am
I
right
never had
now.
that issue as a I just I always told my sisters or my mother, I never said nothing to my father. When I was a teenager, I did, but
Hmm.
not as a kid. I would always say something to my sisters or my mom, but they never
Yeah.
told us. We grew up hearing ghost stories, so
Hmm.
I always heard something going up. My grandma seeing so and so, my aunt seeing whoever. So it was just natural in
For
my.
me too. For me too, it's the same thing. Like my mother saw things too, and she never stopped anyone else from believing that there is something else out there. Plus that, so she's always supportive of that. But I feel like religion and paranormal don't go along together because person is just saying you can't be doing this. I said, why not? And they said, because it's not right. And I said, why isn't it right? Like, I said, okay, I'm done. Like, you want me to go to church? Fine, I'm not going. So I just quit going to church. I said, you know you don't accept me, then that's fine. I don't need to go. And I do what I do, and then yeah, I'm gonna have fun, and I'm gonna enjoy myself, and I'm gonna help people. And you don't like, you can bleep bleep bleep, right? So
Yeah.
that's the way that it ended up with me. And it seems like it's sad because we feel that we're given the gift by God, right? So if we were supposed to be given this gift, why isn't it that others don't believe that, or others think that no, it's a gift of the devil, or no, it's you're marked by the devil, or you're marked by something that's pagan? I go,
Yeah,
really?
I did ask some preachers that I grew up with
Yeah,
why Christians acknowledge the Holy Ghost and Holy Spirit, but no other ghosts and spirits. One of them did write back to me, and I posted that on the
yeah,
podcast page not too long ago because I know a lot of people ask that same question. I'm like, this is his response to it about why religion doesn't recognize any other ghosts or spirits. And basically, it also comes down to if you have a mediumship gift.
hmm,
And I also put on there that, keep in mind, guys, this is not our opinion on this. So don't think it's our opinion. But he said if you have like a medium gift, you're getting your information from the devil himself. Yeah, and I'm just like, and that's why I also put on there. I put on there in the description, like, before you read this, no, it's not our opinion. I even put it back in the comments. Once again, this is not our opinion. It's just the Christian version of why they don't
yeah.
look at other ghosts or spirits, but they will the Holy Ghost and Spirit.
Hmm.
And it's sad because I think there's a lot of people out there who have the gift, but think that it's bad to have one, right? So what do you do, right? And they were sent away to insane asylums, and they all died knowing that they had a gift. But yeah, people call them insane, or people call them crazy because of that.
Well, imagine working in law enforcement and people finding out you do mediumship readings and you're a paranormal investigator.
And you go, whoops, yeah.
Well, they ended up, you'd be surprised how many law enforcement officers are actually into the paranormal
Mm-hmm.
and into the mediumship stuff. I've investigated people's homes that worked in law enforcement. I even took some of the deputies on investigations with me.
Mm.
I've done readings for a lot of them. So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't easy.
No.
'Cause when we first started the team, there was one girl who worked with me in law enforcement. And I remember her saying to me, she's like, Mandy, she's like, what are you going to say to them? They're going to find out you're a medium. You do this, you do that. I said, I don't care. I said, do you think I care? If I cared, I wouldn't be doing it when I'm live.
Yeah.
I mean, she's like, okay.
But you could do that there, but for us here, uh we don't say what we do, right? In this
It's
country,
not
it's
huge in Japan. It's frowned
no.
upon to be into the paranormal. Now
Yeah.
there is like 1,000 different cryptids here, but I think people are more into spooky stories than actual paranormal.
Hmm. Yeah. And if if they see a spirit, they're more likely to get rid of it or to pretend it's not there. And you walk that way, I walk this way. Okay, we're good.
Mhm.
That's the way they do it, right, Amanda?
Yeah,
They just don't wanna. They don't want it to go into their space, and you don't want it to come in your space. You don't want to go into their space, which is really sad because sometimes they're not really there to do that to you, or they think they're gonna harm you, but they're really not there to harm you. Sometimes they want help in that, and in this country that's not heard of. You don't do that. You just get rid of them, and I don't believe in
by
that.
get rid of them, basically board up the place that's supposed to be haunted, though, not
Yeah,
actually get rid of them. There's
yeah,
no one here to
yeah.
call if you feel like there's a haunt scene to help cleanse the place.
No, they just bordered it up, put particular prayers written with a special ink, and they pasted on the walls or pasted on the doors, or put a lid on it and pasted on the lid and said, okay, you're done, bye.
Oh,
That's what's
It's
yeah.
because they're more superstitious than anything here
wow.
in
Yeah.
Japan. So they're afraid they're afraid of if someone enters, will they do something to anger this thing? So their whole thing is, you can't enter where it is. You can't make it angry. It can't try and do anything. So other than
Yeah.
that, they're all the only thing they the only other thing they do is maybe make a shrine to it. That's why there's a lot of shrines here in Japan too. Some of them are actually made to appease an angry spirit.
Yeah. Or,
Interesting.
or they make goddesses on a mountain because something tragic happened to that person or family member, and they put a goddess up there, and then there you go, you know. But a lot of times that goddess can be really naughty and do kinds of naughty things to people, so you have to be careful where you go
Hmm.
and with who.
We do have the forest, however, I think with the forest side, the size
Hmm.
of it, that's the only
Hmm.
reason why it's the one thing in Japan that's supposed to be haunted. That's not boarded up. It's just too
Hmm.
big.
I'd
Yeah.
like to go there.
I was planning to go there, but I think my plans changed, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might go there another time, maybe next year if I'm lucky. It's
Now, I do get a lot of videos here in Japan and a lot of the locals, and it's funny with that forest is a lot of the locals, the whole entire forest is not, because there's obviously the bad part where people go and do that. Like
hmm
I gotta keep it social media friendly, so
yeah, that.
that unfortunately we get tagged all the time. So
Yeah.
they go and do that, and it's supposed to, and there's something about that part of the forest that there's no insects, there's no birds, there's really nothing.
There's no snakes. There's no there's even no wildlife. There's even no rats. No nothing. It's just like it's
Some
like dead
trees
to the world.
grow, they don't grow straight. Some trees just grow in funky directions. That even scientists are like, I don't know why this tree is all curvy.
Yeah.
But then
It.
there's another part of the forest where it is the exact opposite.
Mhm.
Where a lot of locals they hike and they say it's the most peaceful. This part is the most peaceful place you've ever gone to.
Mhm.
Birds chirping. It's just they like it feels so nice and it feels so peaceful. And they
Mhm.
say, yeah, you get to this. They know where to go. They're like, yeah, if you get to this T here in the forest, they know you don't go left, you go right. You go into the left, you start heading into the bad part of the forest. Go
Mhm.
right, and you stay in the better part of the forest.
Mhm.
Mm.
So it's definitely like the the yin and yang kind of a forest where bad
Mhm.
part, really good part.
I would still like to go there.
Yeah, I know a lot of people do. I've known someone who went there and he made his friends drive hours to go there. He starts walking in and he said, I'm not sensitive at all. I have no spiritual gifts. When I walked in there, when I first stepped in there, I heard a slight humming noise. No one else heard it. So then I kind of ignored it. The more we walked in, the louder I heard it. So 20 minutes in, he's like, it was so loud in my ear, I couldn't take it. He's like, nope, we gotta go. We gotta go. And
Mhm.
everyone was like, what? You made us drive 2 hours for this. Now you want to go? He's like, we gotta go.
Mhm.
Mm-mm-mm.
This is not normal.
Mm.
Hmm.
It's just the vibration of the forest and everything else within it
Yeah.
At least
creates
in that part, yeah.
creates havoc for other people. And once you go in there, you're lucky you can come out because it'll keep you in there
I've heard that.
until you perish yourself.
That would be scary.
Hmm. So yeah, it has a way of making putting tricks on you and making you think crazy stuff in your head. So
Mm.
there's a lot of places like that here that's like that, and it doesn't have to be in that forest. It can be other forests in the mountains in Japan too that can make you do that same thing.
Wow. Yeah, because you get all that energy built up from the people
Mhm.
going there to do what they're going to do.
Mhm.
Mount Fuji in general is just it's a magnet for paranormal activity.
It's
I don't
haunted
know what it
itself.
is about Mount Fuji.
Yeah, it's haunted itself. Underneath Mount Fuji has five huge lakes, and I've been there. I've seen it. It's all black. It rains a lot there. It's just like there's nothing there. And you don't hear bird chirp around the lakes. You don't see anything. The sky is always dark and dreary. It's just yeah, okay. Get back in your
Sounds
car
like
and
my type of place.
just just leave, okay? You know, yeah. It's just one of those places where okay, I've seen it. Let's go.
My husband says he'd fly me to Japan to go to that location.
Okay.
He probably would.
Maybe to get rid of you.
To see me get spooked.
Oh, you'll get spooked in a different way. It's cryptids, dark entities, blah 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 blah. It's got everything all at once, right? It's like making yourself a sandwich. You got ham, you got lettuce, you got tomatoes, you got, and by the time you're finished,
One
you'll
way
be
trip.
yeah, your sandwich would be like this high because you got you got everything right, Amanda. It's just full of crazy things, and some places you can't go in there after 9 o'clock because if you do, you'll never come out. Some places like men cannot go in. Men cannot go in there because if they go in there, they'll never come out either. Like
Mm-mm.
it's yeah, it's a great way to get rid of your husband. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Sorry. Yeah, yeah, explain that one. But
They
yeah,
think at one point Godzilla existed and he just went back into Mount Fuji. So
yeah, yeah, most
it's one of
definitely.
our many cryptids that we have here.
Mm-hmm.
We
Interesting.
And
literally have thousands of cryptids, and we don't have any Bigfoot researchers or any cryptid researchers. Anytime we do talk to like a cryptid researcher, I'm always encouraging them, like, yeah, you and your friends come to Japan. I guarantee, I promise you, you're competing with no one. You're competing with whoever you bring with you, okay?
Hmm.
No
because
one
no
else
one else
wants
is
to
gonna
do
do
it.
it. Yeah,
No one
no
else
one
here
else.
wants to do it.
That would be a good
So,
place to go do it then.
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
we tell people. I'm like, come. I was like, anything that you learn at all is going to be new and groundbreaking because no one we have so many cryptids that have basically just have like a description of what it looked like and where it is. Because other than that, everyone's like, nope, not not gonna find out more. Not gonna see if it's friendly. None of it.
No. And the sad part about it is that we all know it's here, but and the people know it's here, but they're saying, "Yeah, I'm not gonna touch that. I'm not gonna go near it in case something crazy happens to me," because they're afraid of that part too, right, Amanda? It's just yeah. And funding, like no scientist is gonna. Nobody's gonna pay a scientist to
Well, back in the states, the Bigfoot researchers do it on their own too. They don't get money for it.
no. But here they expect to get it paid. They expect to get paid to go find whatever in the forest, and they're not gonna say, "Nah, I'm not gonna do that." It's just, yeah, it's a different concept, right? But Amanda's side is totally different from my side. Hers is a little bit different. It's a little bit more sadder on her side. My side's a little bit more crazy. So we live on the opposite part of the.
Yeah, so I live down in the bottom of the island in Nagasaki, where it's more country. She lives in Tokyo, which is obviously the exact opposite, one of the biggest cities in the world.
Mhm.
So it's definitely very different when it comes to that.
Mhm.
Obviously,
Eh,
because to the left, to the right of me is the Nagasaki bomb Nagasaki bomb area. To the north
Mm-hmm.
of me is Hiroshima, so we get a lot of the more tragic spirits here. Compared to
Mm-hmm.
Irene, gets more of the ones that unalive themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't realize with Japan, obviously it's more of a Buddhist country,
Mm-hmm.
and the Buddhists believe that if you're not happy in this life, you can unalive yourself and start again in the next life.
Yeah.
It's
It's
interesting.
Yeah.
but on her side, there are more Christians on her side because a long time the Spanish and the Portuguese both went to Nagasaki first, so that's where it all started, Christianity. But on my side, it's still more Buddhist people, so they think a little bit differently. And yeah, that's why Tokyo's the most haunted part of all of Japan. Tokyo's the number one hottest spot for haunted areas. So yeah, if you want to buy a house, you got to watch out where you buy. If you want to rent an apartment, you got to be careful which apartment you're going to rent or what's there, what's on the side. But there's no way you're going to find out. There's no vital records. There's no history. There's no historian. There's no library records. If they ever had it, they probably destroyed it because the land is so precious. Um, they don't want it to go into waste. So whatever, it's up to you whether you rent it or not, right? And
Right.
you actually need to have a clairvoyant to see if your land is safe to rent or
And
not.
every time she says that, I'm like, Irene, no one else has a clairvoyant here. No one else admits to being one.
No, yeah, okay. Nobody else is gonna help you, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, Irene, we don't have that here.
No. Well, actually, I had to drag my son out to say, I had to bring my son, hey, help us. We're going to buy a house. Which land is safe to buy a house? He said, oh, this one. I go, okay. So you literally need a clairvoyant to buy a house. If you can find one. If you can find one, right? Like she said.
Well, if you're someone who's very sensitive, you can feel the energies when you walk in. You
Mm-hmm.
should be able to feel good or bad.
It's true. That's why we have so many empty houses here, too. And-
They feel the bad energy when they walk in.
yeah, they're abandoned and yeah, they're just all over the country. They can't even give them away for free.
Well, the problem is a lot of those houses with them being abandoned is you have to fix them up. And some
Mhm.
of them are just, it's not worth it. They'll have like trees growing through them or other
Yeah,
issues. So,
that's true. So if you fix her upper, you can buy it. Mm, has since you've been a police officer, I
Corrections.
bet I bet there are so many things that you have seen or afterwards that were pretty horrific
Mhm.
and left its essence there. Was it hard?
Yeah, being a medium, working in that type of environment, we dealt with females and males. I could sense the spirits around. I knew something was going to happen before it was going to happen. And I used to hate it because I'd hear spirit say to me, signal four. And I'm like, oh, no, no, no signals. Because signal isn't always good, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's not, it's a bad thing. And it would happen to me a lot working there. So they'd say signal four, and then it'd be 5 minutes later on the radio, there it is, signal four. And next thing you know, everybody's coming out of the woodworks, rushing to wherever the signal is. So it was things like that. Each dorm, each block I went into, I could feel the different energies, and it was never good. But I could sense when they were up to no good too. But
Mm-hmm.
nighttime, it was really spooky working there when you're all alone down in female housing because there is definitely there's just spirits all around that location.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had them follow me from there. I've even had them talk to me through radios there. Insane. I mean, the stuff that I had going on when I was working there.
It was probably one big huge magnet, right?
Huh?
One huge big magnet. So it just like,
Yeah, exactly. But it was just crazy. They would follow me from where I worked at the jail. And
mm,
I would go from working and get ready at work, have something going on at work with the
mm,
spirit, and go straight to a location. And I knew there was someone following me, and it was a male spirit. And we actually ended up capturing a male spirit saying my last name
mm-hmm,
when this happened, because I told my team, I said, something followed me from work. I said it started, down a female housing, and then when I was changing, I had stuff going on in the locker room. I said, and now it's here. And they're like, what? And I said, yeah. Well, when we were investigating, I said, is do you know my name? And the
mm-hmm,
spirit came through, and it was a male spirit, and he said my last name. The only ones who call me by my last name
mm-hmm,
is inmates.
mm-hmm,
So it was definitely a male inmate that had followed me in spirit,
mm-hmm,
and we captured it saying my last name on the spirit box. So it was real clear too, really clear.
mm.
Have they helped you with like cases like you show up somewhere and you're getting someone's side of the story and then they kind of then the spirit tells you that's not true?
Yeah, I've been in locations where I've heard other people talking about it, and then I might be receiving something different. Yeah, it's happened a few times. Not a lot.
Mm.
I don't like to know anything when I go into a location. Um,
Hmm.
but usually somebody, there's people that reach out. Someone that used to be on my team, he'll do a little bit of research on a location if it's around our hometown, and then he knows I don't like to know anything. So when I go to the new location, he'll let me know, hey, you were picking up this, you were right, this, that.
Mm-hmm.
But then there'll be other people talking about something that took place at the location, and we will get something different from spirit.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting how because some teams say they'd rather do the research before they go. Other teams say we'd rather do it after to see if any of the spirits make any sense. Just because they're just like, if you go in and you already know,
Yeah,
someone named Bob passed away there, you're trying to find a Bob, you're trying to make it make sense, compared to
yeah.
afterwards, you're just trying to see if anything kind of makes more sense. And they say this way, at least you're not kind of un, you're not persuaded to think one thing or try and
Well, and also
make sure.
if everybody's only focused on the spirits that people know that could be there, well, what about
Yeah.
the other spirits that are there that nobody talks to?
Or even of visiting spirits, yeah, and people forget about that. And that's why it's interesting to see the two different. I mean, every team's different. Every team does their own thing. It's
Mhm.
not one. No one's right or wrong in it. But it's definitely interesting to see the teams who like do the research first, trying to see if
Mhm.
they can make sense of it, compared to teams who are like, I don't want to know because it doesn't change any of our methods. We're not trying to contact that one specific person.
I don't even like to have a tour. I mean, I have done the tours in the past, but I would tell them, I'm a medium. I don't want to know anything. Can you please not tell me who passed away here, there, their name? If you could not do that, but and they would do their best not to give anything away. But that kind of makes it, for my other two sisters, if they want to know something, go ahead. You can have the tour. I'll stay behind. But
Hmm.
personally, in the past, probably the past 4 years, 3 years, we've really focused on not having no tours, because it just, no, just don't want to know anything. Just rather go in open minded, see what I can connect with, and what we can get.
That's a good way to do it too. Yeah, because then you're just not trying to call out to whatever spirit you feel like is going to make sense for that area.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else also said when they go there, they don't ask, how did you die? Because not every spirit knows that they're not alive.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll ask, what's the last thing you remember? And kind of piece it from there.
There is some locations that we go to that the people who own and run the location will tell you, if you talk to them like their spirit, you will not get that much. You might not get nothing, crickets. But if you talk to them like they are still here, you're going to get all kinds of stuff. And when I go to those locations, it is true. I've done this, and I have to remind myself not to talk to them like they're in spirit, because I'm so used to doing that. And at this location, they don't like that. So if you start talking to them like that, you won't get much.
Someone also said, so it was Kalani the ghost hunter recently said in an interview, and I find this interesting, and it kind of goes with the theory of sometimes our time kind of goes over each other, however you want to say it. But he asked what he thought was the spirit, what year is it for you? And they said 2048. They were, and what he thought was the spirit was thought he was the ghost, and they were investigating him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. I've heard people say that. What if we are, to them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it goes with, and everyone's like, that kind of goes with like also like the movie The Others, where they didn't realize that they were the spirits. Yeah. Or it could be like the time overlap where they're investigating and they happen to investigate the same time the time is overlapping. So you guys think each other are the spirits investigating.
It's an interesting way to kind of look at it.
It is.
Do you have a female spirit that follows you?
Do what?
Do you have a female spirit that follows you?
I've got quite a few that follow me. I have a child spirit that follows me, and I probably do have a female, and maybe
the cat agrees.
Huh? Yeah, the cat agrees. Like, he didn't come till he heard your voice, and that's why he just plopped himself. Yeah, there are several spirits with you.
I'm not surprised.
There's definitely a shy female that follows her to kind of make sure she's okay.
Mm-hmm. What'd you say, Amanda?
A shy female that kind of follows you, especially to investigations, that make sure you're okay.
Mm-hmm. And I know that when I'm out there investigating, because I've come across some dark things at a location called the Yira Shrine in Tennessee. And, it's a man-made Yira Shrine, and there is some darker things there. So that would have been the only time, but I have been to some of the most haunted, said to be worldwide most haunted locations out there with these darker things. But I personally never had nothing like that. Only from this location, the Yira Shrine, I've had the dark thing. That was it. But no other time have I always felt like, I always feel like I'm protected when I'm out there. I feel like I feel like my father's with me a lot. And he's kind of like, he probably doesn't like what I'm doing, but he's like, I think he's just keeping, the bad things away from me. So I feel like I do get more communication with the more friendlier spirits, but the angry spirits too, because I've had them, cuss us out and be real, call me names and just be horrible.
They're telling you to blank you off, like that's some more. Yeah, like get
I've
out
had
of
them
here.
call me bad stuff, and it's like, hey, now.
Yeah.
But I'm a firm believer how you are and while you're alive is how you're going to be if you're still a spirit when you pass in your spirit and you're still lingering here.
Yeah.
We've said that many times in this show. How you
Yeah.
are in life is how you are in death.
Yeah.
Yes. And that is true. It is very
Mm-hmm.
true.
Mm-hmm. I think
Have you had
suddenly.
any experiences investigating that maybe was a little bit too much or too intense or too scary for you?
I've had a lot. But it doesn't stop me. It makes me want to keep going. There was an incident at a school, and it was Middle Point School in Middletown, Ohio. I believe that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to do a lot of spiritual writing whenever we would go into a location, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because again, I didn't want to know anything. And
Mm-hmm.
I used to do this a lot. I need to get back into it. It comes easily for me when I do spiritual writing. But I haven't done it in probably about a year and a half, something like that. But I used to take 10 minutes out and I would channel with the spirits and I would write and
Mm-hmm.
I'm connecting with them. And there was this one time we were at Middle Point School, and the energy was just, I felt this energy from the time I put my foot on the ground when we parked and got out of the car. I was like, oh my goodness. And when
Mm-hmm.
I walked into that school, the energy was so heavy in this school. I couldn't hardly breathe. And for me, that's spirit. There's a lot of spirits around.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had a Jacob's ladder running, and this wasn't your little Jacob's ladder. This was a huge man-made Jacob's ladder. It was a battery with wires hooked up to it, and we decided we wanted to leave this running upstairs in a room called the dark room. I think it's called the dark room. I
Mm-hmm.
call it the creepy crawler room, but
Mm-hmm.
people have said there's shadow figures that crawl on the walls and ceilings and things. So we left the Jacob's ladder upstairs in that room for over an hour running, just kicking off all this energy throughout the school, you know. And while it was still running, I decided I wanted to go to the library next to that room and I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do my spiritual writing there. So my niece goes upstairs with me and we go live
Mm-hmm.
and I'm doing my 10 minutes of the writing. And
Mm-hmm.
I should have listened to the spirits. They were telling me, don't do it. They kept telling me, don't. They kept saying, stop. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
stop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this little girl was telling me what happened, and she was the one telling me to stop, but I wasn't listening. So I'm connecting with her. I started to connect with I think it was a school teacher or a principal. But anyway, he had passed away. He had a stroke. And you could tell the energy was like, when you're watching this live of me doing this, I'm like trying to catch my breath. You can tell something's going on. I'm not feeling right. And everybody on the live's like, tell her to stop. She needs to stop. But I was like, no, only 10 minutes. I got it. Well, I kept going and I started to feel like I think my right side was going numb and my arm started going numb. My hand was going numb. And the guy was telling me he had a stroke. I started to get really panicky over that. So finally, 10 minutes is up. I stop. And by that point, I'm like, can hardly breathe. You know, I'm like, it was just so strong, the energy. When we got done, we go downstairs. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I start freaking out. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what is going on? All of a sudden, these children are like all around me and they're telling me something about a fire in the basement and how they all passed away. I got real emotional. I started crying. And I don't do that. That's not
Mm-hmm.
me. I've only done it a couple times, maybe during an SD session, nothing major. But
Mm-hmm.
the caretaker told me that they said, get her outside now. This something's on her, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They got me outside, which I've never had to do this before. So soon as I get outside, I felt better. I felt the energies backing off of me. But I remember I looked up at that school and I looked up on, I don't know, it might have been the second or the third floor. And
Mm-hmm.
in this window, I seen for maybe 1 or 2 seconds, it was fast, but I seen it. It was a figure of an outlining of maybe a child or a person. It was black as my shirt looking at me. I'll never forget it. It was quick, but I seen it. And so I was out there for about 10, 15 minutes. And finally I was like, okay, I feel good. I'm going in. Went inside and I investigated the rest of the night. And they didn't bother me like that after that. But that was one of my big moments where I didn't listen to spirit.
That's unusual because usually a spirit is not dark. Usually
Mhm.
a spirit's mostly a pale, waxy white color, right? Like it, like it's almost like where you put a sheet over it.
We've captured some dark shadow figures. I've got them. I've got it on my social media, and these things. These are like probably some non-human entities, but
Mm.
they are definitely black, black.
Mm.
Now, Irene, you know we have some of those here that just stare at you.
I know. They're
We have
mostly on
so
your
many
side.
shadow figures in
They're mostly
Japan.
on your side, not mine. They're
Yeah,
mostly
well,
on your side.
especially here, you'll see shadow figures. And at the first time I saw it, I thought I was going crazy because I'm
Hmm.
not used to shadow figures just standing and staring at me. Because usually shadow figures in and out, where you catch it in a photo, where you catch
Yeah,
it
so they're
in your
peeking
peripheral
around at
vision,
you.
or they're just like dart real fast. This one's standing and staring at me, where I'm like, is this real? Is this actually
Hmm.
happening? Have I probably lost it? But I
Well,
had my dog with me, and my dog reacted in a way when she sees a new person and she wanted to go sniff and investigate it. It's like, all right, my dog sees this person.
mhm,
It's there. So it's
Hmm.
definitely and after that, I'm just so used to seeing shadow figures just staring. They'll just
Hmm.
mhm.
stop and stare and I'm like, okay.
Well, at this
They just
location
stare
where
in Japan.
at that school where that happened, later on in that night when we were investigating, me and this other person decided we'd go into the dark room. And we're not getting anything. We're in there for 20 minutes, nothing. I mean, it's just eerie quiet. And I'm like, okay, I know something's in here. And I'm like, let's just go. But we had a camera set up in the dark room, and everybody was down at in the area where we had our equipment and the camera set up. They were watching. And when we walked out of there, my friend, he went first, and I was the last one walking out. I felt something rush up on me. And I said, oh my gosh, I said, something just rushed up on me, man. I said, I don't know what the heck that was, but oh, I was freaking out. So as we're going down the stairs, my niece is on the radio. She's like, Mandy, where are you guys at? I'm like, we're heading down to you guys. And she's like, something just, we caught something on the camera. Wait till you see this. So we get down there and they roll back the cameras, and what it was, and it happened when I walked out. So this thing, like, it appeared on the floor,
Hmm.
and it got really big, and then it goes, whew, it rushes out the doorway. And we
Oh
slowed
man.
it down into like 3 different speeds. So you've seen it in like slow, medium, and fast. It was creepy.
Mm.
Yeah, it was dark.
That was interesting.
Hmm.
Well, there's a theory also, because you said you're a medium. So there's a theory also that people with gifts for for the spirit world, their aura is brighter, so that's also why they're more attracted to you. Because it's like a moth to the flame kind of thing. Where if your aura is brighter than the people's around you, then it's definitely going to be more attracted to you.
Hmm.
Which
Yeah.
sounds like it's true because everyone keeps saying they keep calling your name. So
They do. I hear it all the time. I'll be trying to sleep and the spirits are calling my name. I'm like, oh man. Yeah.
I have the same problem.
You do?
Hmm. Can't even take a bath now. I said, all right, this is my time. Leave me alone.
Hmm.
Going to the bathroom. Yeah. Leave.
But when I'm out
I
there, I don't want to just focus on being a medium though. It's hard because you're running your live feed and you're trying to focus on the paranormal, the investigation. I'm not. I mean, I'm listening to spirit, but not always.
Hmm.
Sometimes I just try not to listen to them, and I want to focus on what we're getting. But then there's that times where spirit is like, when they know I'm not talking, they
Hmm.
try to jump in there and show me images and say something.
Hmm.
But I try not to be someone, just as a medium, focus so much on the mediumship, but as the investigator. So
Hmm. It's kind of hard not to do. They kind of like go hand in hand together in a way.
yeah.
I find
So
they don't want you. They'd rather have you focus on a medium. At
yeah.
least in my experience, they do.
Mhm.
Because it's like you have a gift, you're going to use it regardless if you want to or not right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And
But when
I know Irene has that same issue, as she said. The most in, they like to wait until she's not in a good moment to be like, all right, I'd like to talk to you now.
they want to
Yeah.
jump
And Irene
in.
is like, you pick now, now. I'll talk to you
I,
later, okay?
yeah, you say take a number.
Well,
Yeah,
I've
it's like there's
actually
something.
had them call me on my phone.
Oh
I've had
dear.
some weird experiences out there. They've actually um, called me on my phone, and that is no joke.
Mm.
I've heard of that happening. I think there was a case solved because of that happened.
I've even had I've had them message me too on Ghost Sisters to beat off. I am not kidding you guys. It was crazy, and I was like, "This is insane." And they were using someone else's message, to talk to me, and I didn't
Mm.
even know it. And the person that it was coming from was like, "What?" He's like, "Mandy, I never messaged you." I'm like, "You got to be kidding me." He's like, and I'm like, "Well, you sent me this."
Yeah. It's just creepy crazy. Yeah, I sometimes I get that too. I also get that too. I also get when I'm on my phone, it buggers up. And so, like, especially when we're on a podcast like this, sometimes it kicks me out. So, okay, Amanda, and she knows. Amanda knows, so she doesn't it doesn't bug her, and it doesn't fluster her. So I always have to come back in again.
Yeah, there was one time when I'm in the middle of a story, telling someone a story. Irene gets kicked out, and a guest is like, "Oh," and I keep going on, and the person's like, "Wait, you're not concerned about your co-host? You don't want to make sure she's okay?" I'm like, "No, she'll be back in. Trust me." Then all of a sudden, Irene pops back up, and they're like, "Oh, you're right." I'm like, "Yeah, we're used to it. We're so used to it. She's fine."
Well, they like to mess with your electronics.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's for
that's
sure.
what people are saying because they're like, "I can't believe you're not going to be like, oh, hold on, let me make sure Irene's okay." And I'm like, "No, I know she is. She'll be back." Then she pops back up and like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I told you. We're used to it. We don't want her anymore."
Sometimes I can't get back in. Depends on how bad, on
That's
how
only happened,
deep.
I think, like once though. I mean, there's been
Yeah,
podcasts where she's kicked out like 3 times.
yeah. I got kicked, and I can't. And sometimes I said, "Damn it, leave me alone." Like, let me just finish this podcast, okay? You guys just leave me alone. Let me just do this one time. It'll be over in a couple of minutes. Just let me finish this up. And one time I couldn't get back in again, right? The conversation was so deep, like they didn't like it. They said, okay. I said, okay, sorry, Amanda, I can't get back in again. I messaged her.
Or they just get tired of hearing you. That's what happened to our guest last night, is they were
Yeah,
booted. But
yeah,
he has several haunted objects in his house where they're just like,
yeah,
all right,
Well,
we're done listening to you for the night. So they
yeah.
just
I'm at my friend's house, and they have a museum in here from a lot of stuff from Gettysburg.
Hmm.
And
that's his favorite place. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of spirits in here, and they know I'm sitting here talking. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, that's one of his favorite places to be. I've always
yeah.
joked with him. I'm like, man, this person. I'm just at this point. I'm just going to write you a recommendation letter for you to be the spokesperson of Gettysburg.
I've been there. It is very, very high energy there.
That's what he was
Yeah,
saying too last night. Is there's not a place in town that's not haunted.
that's not haunted or that doesn't have anything in it, right? I think the soil is haunted. I think the soil is. I think it's deep down. I think because before that, I think there's another history before that. And I think Native Americans were on the land too. I think there's a lot of other stuff that happened on the land. So it's a mixture, mishmash of everything, and it makes it really haunted. So pick your choice. Like you gotta you're going for a buffet, right? When you do that. So yeah, I think people think that, oh, it's because this is haunted. No, it isn't just because of that. I think there's a number of reasons why it's haunted, and it's not just one thing.
Mhm.
There could be multiple things. It could be what happened to the land before that. Like, what's the history of the land? What was it like before the 1800s, or before the 1600s, or even before that, right? Something must have happened on that land to get that energy. And it's not always just the battlefield of Gettysburg. I think there's a lot of other things that happened too that created this force field of energy and made it extremely haunted. So yeah, it's not just one thing like everyone else thinks. It isn't. It's a that's a number of things that makes it that way. And um maybe we will find out, maybe we won't find out. That's one thing I want to find out too.
Native
It's
American spirits are another level, though.
They
yeah.
are, and I've captured some amazing stuff with them. Actually, in this town here where I'm at tonight, where I'm investigating, we've actually captured this. I'm going to tell you the best way to describe it was it looked like something stuck its head like halfway out of the wall, and then it
Mm.
turns its head and it goes right back in.
Mm.
And you
Oh,
have one thing I know that you have to be they're quick when they're on camera. They're so quick. You got to
mm-hmm,
have that eye to catch them. And I have a friend who loves to go back and review my lives, and he
mm-hmm,
captures things that I didn't even know was going on around me when I'm live.
mm-hmm.
So we actually did capture what looked like a Native American with long hair, and he looked like he was sticking his head halfway out. He peeked and then he turned his head. Yeah,
Yeah.
and this town, Sandusky, Ohio, here, Upper Sandusky,
Mm-hmm.
was known for the one of the biggest battles here that took place. And so all the buildings, I mean, it's just so much history that I've investigated with my buddy Tom there. We call him Big T. And yeah, a lot of Native American here.
My friend lives in, she has one more house. She lives in Charleston. Her one house is there. And yeah, she said, you know, there's a place that you don't go that's not haunted down the street. Walk down the street, it's haunted. Like there. Yeah. And I bet you almost every house is haunted too around there, she said to me.
I think they say Ohio is it's either five or it's in the top 10 of one of the most haunted states. It, it's
Mm,
got it's got a lot of stuff here for sure.
exactly. And some is creepy, some is interesting, and like
We got
depends on
cryptids here. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
How do you rank a state, though, on how haunted it is?
I know, right? I don't know. Maybe the history, maybe the locations, you know.
I was gonna say, I'm like, I
Mm,
spent a couple of years in Montana, and I that was so active there. And there's also so many like different urban legends there that you really got to be into some of the paranormal, be friends with the paranormal people to know. There's a lot of families who just disappeared out of nowhere, and even like the friends and family was like, it's weird, and people would go by after not hearing from them for a while, see their vehicle still in the driveway. They look in, everything is still in there. Their mail is laid out, and they're just like it's like they disappeared and left all their stuff, and no one has ever found them.
Oh no, that's creepy.
mm, yeah.
And there's
You
so
want
many different stories of like, yeah, and there's someone else I knew was like, yeah, my parents can tell you they didn't believe into the supernatural until one day, like their grandmother was visiting them from somewhere, and they're getting ready to go somewhere, and they're getting into the car, and the grandma's like, oh, I forgot something in the house. So she went into the house, and they said after they waited a while, and then grandma never came out, so the father went in to go see, what's going on? Does she need help? Is she okay? And they said it's weird because they walked over the house and they couldn't find grandma, and they never found grandma. They're like, she went to the house and then all of a sudden she's gone.
Oh wow.
mm, that's interesting. That's weird, isn't it?
But there's also, so Montana is one of those states where they believe, some people, it's one of those theories where they thought Montana and Alaska they had to shut down some of the coal mines and caves because they believe there was also a gateway into, if you believe into like the hollow earth theory, there's little like
Mhm.
passageways to the hollow earth. So there's also creatures from that too. So there's been groups of miners who just like disappeared, and they said like they searched, they couldn't find groups of people, and
Mhm.
they didn't find any rock balls or anything, so they don't know what happened.
That's like in Alaska, people going and disappearing.
Mhm.
Yeah, they said it
Especially,
was Montana and Alaska somehow has their own little um passageways, I guess, to it.
yeah. Especially the guys that go in the forest, who go deer hunting. Right. Some of them don't come out. And there's one case that I was helping this guy. This friend went deer hunting in Alaska several years ago, and they haven't found him. They don't know what happened to him. They still don't know what happened to him.
Hmm.
And they were thinking if a bear got him, but if a bear got him, then there'd be leftovers of him, right?
You would
But there's,
think.
yeah, but there's nothing there. So they're thinking, there's no sign of a bear that attacked him, because if there would, yeah, there'd be bones left over or whatever, right, of him. And there wasn't even that. So they had a search party that went out. I don't know what happened. I haven't I haven't found out yet, but I was trying to find out, channeling through him and finding out where he was, and if he was still alive or dead. And I found out he was dead. Of course he's dead. And I couldn't, it was really weird because I found him, but I didn't find him. And I just, yeah, I came out blank, actually, to tell the truth. That was the first time I ever come out blank. I
Hmm.
usually don't, right? I'm usually pretty good because I like I help with cold cases too, and there is a pattern with them. But this one, I was like, yeah, I don't know where he is. Like, it's just really weird. I couldn't give a proper answer. I got frustrated. I usually don't get that way. But that was one weird situation where I couldn't find anything. Well, hopefully they'll find him, or some of them, or parts
This
of
I
him.
totally believe with this. Just because, like, for example, Irene lives on the fire belt,
Hmm.
which is pretty much where Mount Fuji is. So anytime there is an earthquake in Japan, more than likely it happened around Mount Fuji as its epicenter.
Hmm.
And Mount Fuji is so haunted, it has made believers out of some of the most biggest
Well,
skeptics you will
yeah.
ever find. What I mean by biggest skeptics, they could walk into a room, see everything floating, and assume there's some kind of science behind it. There has been people who has said like they didn't even go to Mount Fuji, but they had a hotel room with a view of Mount Fuji, and they had a ghost story that happened that made them absolute believers. So
Hmm.
yeah, definitely, because it is definitely on one of those lines over there, Mount Fuji, and it's one of the
Hmm.
most haunted places probably in Japan.
It is.
Like I
It
said, you don't
is.
even have to go to Mount Fuji. You could
Nope.
just be in a hotel room with a view
Yeah.
of Mount Fuji, and you'll still get some kind of
Creepy
ghost
thing.
story.
Yeah.
You know,
Or
spirits
something visiting
traveling.
you in the middle of the night. Yeah,
Spirits
you get the.
traveling.
There
You
has
get,
been people who had like they got their hotel room have a view of Mount Fuji, and I think that's gonna be like it for them because they said that they had a spirit banging on outside of their glass door for going leading outside to the balcony, screaming at them to let them in. So that they're like, yeah, it's made me a believer.
Yeah. The thing is, like going to Mount Fuji, it's a I call it paranormal road. So everything haunted is the same road leading to Mount Fuji. And the end of the haunted road is Mount Fuji. And going to there, you pass a lot of mountains, and there's a lot of shall we say, unaliving places there, and there's a lot of uh dead samurai warriors who are decapitated. So their the grave is there, and it's just one road leading all the way there, and it seems like it's just that, and the end of it is Mount Fuji, and the suicide forest is the end of it. It's just really weird how that road leads to everything, so you don't have to divert anywhere. You don't have to go left or right. You just go straight,
Straight
and you're
shot.
there. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then if you go a little bit further than that, you're at Japan seaside, right? It's on the other side of that, and then they got their own crazy haunted things on that side too. So yeah, pick your choice, right?
Mm.
What do you want to see? We'll just go straight, and yeah, you'll hit something. It's it's just really unusual, and you get the hot springs, and you get the haunted hot springs, and you get this, and you get that, and it's just
I'd have to check it all out. I'd be like, let's go.
yeah. Okay, when are you coming?
Well, my husband's still on here. He was commenting. He said, I'll fly her out.
Hey, I got the room for you.
I'll be on my way. If he says I get your ticket, I'll be on my way.
Well, tickets are cheaper now because the American dollar is a little bit higher than Japanese. Our money tanked, but that's another story.
It's
Anyways,
starting to the yen's starting to rise again though.
oh God, pray to God, hopefully, yeah. But yeah, I mean, yeah, flights there. Now is the time to fly out if you can.
Well, it's far. I know it'd be a long trip like Hawaii.
Hawaii 7 hours.
For us, it was 9 or 10 hours. I've been to Hawaii
Ooh.
twice.
It'll at least
Mm.
be a 12-hour flight for you
I
to
would
get to
do it.
Japan.
I would do it.
We'll have fun.
Even from the coast, it's like at least 12 hours.
Or if you're not used to earthquakes, well,
Oh boy. No,
Well,
I'm
that
not
yeah.
used
mostly it
to
mostly happens.
that.
Earthquakes mostly happens in the springtime, though. We
Mm-hmm.
call it earthquake season. We've been having a few here in the fall,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not. That's not normal, so we don't know what's going on.
No.
That's scary.
And even when I'm on a podcast, it happens too. So, yeah. I'm just hanging on to my China cabinet. Okay, let's continue. Sure, you're going. Yeah, let's continue.
Oh, she's so used to it that yeah, there'll be. We've had a few podcasts where an earthquake started happening, and I'm like, "Are you okay, Irene? You need to go." No, I'm good.
I'm just
And
holding
Mm-mm.
up
she's
my
just kind
China
of rode it
cabinet.
out.
We're okay. We'll ride it out. My cabinet's going like this. It's just like, yeah, okay, no problem.
My, my
The only
friends
time when I'm not doing that is 4 a.m. in the morning. If that happens, then I'm in bed. I'm not moving.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
she
care.
said she woke up, saw everything moving. It's 4 a.m., so she's like, "I just went back to bed. If it's
I'm
my
just,
time, it's my time. I'll go out sleeping."
I'm gonna go back to bed. I pull the covers over my head to keep my head from nothing falling on it, and I'm gonna go back to bed. That's it. I'm done.
Mm-mm.
That is actually, ironically, when we get an earthquake, that's also when we get the most UFO activity.
Yeah,
Oh wow.
So it kind of
especially.
goes with the whole thing of they either live somewhere in Earth or live
Hmm.
somewhere in our waters. Because if it's shaking, it's probably, and that's when you see them, it's probably shaking for them, and they're like, let's just
Mhm.
Hover over till it ends.
Yep.
Mhm.
And then when an big one happens, right? They're not minor ones. They don't really come out. The big ones they do. If there's something that breaks apart or something that falls or something that really happens, they're out there like you wouldn't believe. And they're mostly near the nuclear power plants. Um, because we can't have wind because we have a lot of hurricanes and stuff like that. So it the weather is very tragic, and twice a year we get them, and it's pretty nasty. So we have a lot of nuclear power, and they're right there in the nuclear power plants, right there in the air, and you can see them. And they're not gonna. They don't hide. They come out.
Mm.
Yeah, so you can see people saying, "Look at the sky! Look at the sky!" during an earthquake. They're not looking down. They're not saying, "Oh, be careful!" Like they're looking up at the sky, and they're using their video cameras trying to take a picture of what's happening in the sky. So yeah, and
Mm.
we got a lot of um ghost ships too.
Oh wow, that would be interesting to see a ghost ship.
Yeah, because we have our own particular crazy Bermuda Triangle, and ships come up empty. Fishing vessels from Southeast Asia around come up empty, and the ships are perfectly working, but there's nothing in it.
Mm-mm.
And the Coast Guard has to bring them ashore, and the police come go out there and investigate. But of course, they're not going to find anything, right? Yeah, so they're just empty ships, and there's no captain, no crew, no nothing. And they're wondering what the heck happened, right? And the news is just like certain seasons they come up they go fishing, and certain seasons they come up empty. It's usually the springtime or the fall.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's just really crazy. And they come on the news, they go, "Oh, another one," right? Like, oh well, okay, it happened again. Oh, okay, another one came up. Oh, okay. You're like everyone's like, okay, that's not unusual. Like the same old, same old. That's Japan for you.
Japan got a lot going on.
Oh yeah.
We have, if you believe in the Loch Ness monster, we
Hmm.
actually have two of them.
Yeah.
Mm. I
There's
believe
one in the
there's things out
south.
there.
There's one in the south. Is called like Issy. And there's also
Hmm.
one in the north. It's called Kusi. And they wanted the ending to be in the SIE because they didn't know what to name it when they first discovered these things. But they were aware of Nessie, the Loch Ness monster. So they're like, we kind of wanted something to go along with that nickname for what we called them. So that's kind of what they called them.
Huh.
Is that
I
in the
thought the
lakes?
northern one was called Nissi, but it's actually called Kusi. Nissi is actually, it is a name of a cryptid up there, but it's a cave cryptid.
Is that in the lakes or is that in the ocean?
They're in
You're
the lake.
saying.
I know the one up north is. I believe they're both in the lake, and then I know the one up north is a lake. I think the one down here, but a few hours from me, is also in a lake. Just like the Loch Ness monster is also in the lake.
Mhm.
Mm.
They're just in
Well,
really deep lakes.
I gotta find out which lake they're in. Because there's a lot of them around here.
Hmm.
Yeah,
There's
there's
like,
just they're all in. I don't know what it is. They're all in deep lakes though. If any Loch Ness monster creature is always in some deep lake.
Mm-mm-mm.
I mean, it could be some out in the ocean that hasn't appeared up here yet,
mm-hmm,
knowing how deep the ocean is.
Mm-mm-mm.
mm-hmm, yeah. All we know is we got the jellyfish, we got the sharks, and that's about
Y'all can keep them too. I don't want no part of the sharks or the jellyfish.
it. Nah, my kids like going fishing.
They think the megalodon still exists, but he's just more. it went more
I
deep
think he
under.
does.
Yeah, he just adapted to live more deep in the ocean
Mm.
because they're still finding teeth from them
Hmm.
that are
Oh,
supposed to be before. They're supposed to be after they thought they thought it extinct. So there's newer teeth.
okay.
So yeah, they
That's
just think it went deeper into the ocean.
Yeah.
that's
They
interesting.
can stay down there because I got a cruise to
Yeah.
take in February. I got a cruise to take in February, and I'm not trying to run into that thing.
Are you going live
Whereabouts are you?
tonight, Mandy?
Oh, yeah, yes, I do have an investigation tonight. Yes. Yep.
When can people kind of expect to see you live tonight?
Probably around 9:30.
Mm-hmm.
9:30. After we go get something to eat, we're gonna head over when it gets darker. So yeah.
Everything everything fun happens when it gets dark.
Where are you investigating tonight?
We are in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. It's just me and my friend Tom, Big T.
Mm-hmm.
And we're dealing with the red slipper case that happened here in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. We actually went there during the day about, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, and we investigated during the day and got some pretty cool stuff. We actually had the ladies' slippers out there that are in the museum,
Mm-hmm.
and we had a lot of stuff going on around the slippers that was on the lady that was found there. And we're going back tonight because tonight is the night where when it happened to her. So
Mm.
yeah, and it's out in the woods. Um, the body was dropped off. The lady was from New York. She was dropped off here in Upper Sandusky, Ohio, and kind of like in the back country road here. But there's
Mm-hmm.
like a little bit of a ditch that goes down, so it was like
Mm-hmm.
somewhere down around there.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, I'm sorry, you're going to hear a phone ringing.
Okay.
I'm at my friend's house.
Do
And
you find that they it doesn't matter if it's a day or night when the spirits come out? Beep, beep, beep.
I don't hear anything. Oh, they hung up.
Okay. Do you find that the spirits come out during the day or during the night? Do you find it doesn't make any difference to you?
No, I don't think it makes any difference. I've heard the spirits talk to me during the day. I've done
Mm-hmm.
investigations during the day. I've had crazy stuff happen. Just nighttime, they say.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how true it is, who knows? A lot of people think, well, the darker things come out at night, or for me, it's more, it's just, I love it. It's spookier.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I like to be spooked, but I
You
do
should
like
like to be.
the nighttime investigations. But
It
I've
goes
done
with the
this.
it goes with the superstition that because obviously when you investigate in the dark, they say it takes the spirits less energy to do things. So that's why people think dark
Mm,
time is more active than during the day. But people also say you only think that because you're using less of your some of your senses, so you're more tuned in to things going on around
Mm,
you.
mm. But I noticed that they'll come out. They like hurricanes. Spirits like hurricanes. Spirits like rain. They like cloudy days. They like snow. They like winter.
well,
So
water
yeah,
is a kinetic energy source for spirits. So
yeah.
we're near a lot of water here in Upper Sandusky too.
Mm. Okay. So you have a river near you?
Hmm.
I
Mm.
believe they're that's near the one of the Great Lakes.
You have Upper Sandusky, then you have Sandusky, Ohio, which that's the one that has the more of the lakes that you're talking
Mhm.
about.
Mhm.
So this Upper Sandusky has just a river that runs through here, but I
Mm.
don't think it's connected to Sandusky though. I could be wrong.
Mm.
Because I
Is
grew
it?
up in Lower Michigan,
Oh yeah,
and
I lived
every
in Michigan.
year field trips would go to. I think that's where Cedar Point is.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Sandusky, Ohio.
So yeah, definitely Cedar Point is on a beach. next
Yes.
to one of them. So that's why I'm like, I think she's near at least one
Lake
of
Erie.
those.
It's Lake Erie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was like, I know it's one of those over the Great Lakes over there.
Mm-hmm.
So it is the Sandusky
Usually,
River, Tom said here.
Mm.
usually the when you're right next to one of the Great Lakes, you'll have a lot of lakes around you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. It's huge. Lake Erie's huge.
Yeah, it is. Uh,
Lake
is it a?
Superior supposedly has their own version of the Loch Ness monster too, because it's supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be one of the deepest lakes as well.
Oh, and that's also haunted too. You know.
Of course it is. To your point, I think there's been deaths on the roller coasters.
Yeah, it's yeah. That also is really creepy, haunted. Also, um, is the lake near you fast running or very slow?
Um, I think it runs probably fast. I don't know. I haven't Tom would know that. He's watching. Um, I'll wait and see
Mm.
if he responds. I don't know. I think it is fast though.
I'm trying to look at it. Jeez, I can't find it. Why is my head a blank? Come on.
Where's your favorite spot to investigate?
I like to some of my favorite spots. Well, one of my favorite spots is the Eura Shrine,
Mm-hmm.
and I do like another one up in Missouri, Cooper Hill, because it's very active. I've had a lot of stuff there, but I really love to investigate prisons and jails
Mm.
because working in law enforcement, I know there's a lot there, and I like asylums too.
Mm-hmm.
But just it's a whole different environment in prisons and
I
jails.
feel
Mm.
like for her, it would be. I feel like for Mandy, it would be different, Irene, for her to investigate jails and prisons just because they can sense that she works in law enforcement. So
Yeah.
they would definitely interact with her. If we all investigated one, they would definitely interact with her differently than they would us for
Of
that
course,
reason.
of course, of course, of course, because they know exactly what work she did, and
I wear a vest sometimes too. I'll wear a vest.
mm,
Yeah, I'm like, hey.
that's intimidating, right?
Yeah, yeah. Or it'll keep them away from me. It just depends. But most likely, no. They usually come. I went to the Blackford County Jail, and
Hmm.
that has a dungeon down in the basement. And I actually had my vest on that time, and it was me and one other girl. And it is very creepy down in the dungeon. I mean, it is. And I actually did
Wow.
an isolation down there, blindfolded, and I was doing the Estes. So I was the only one
Hmm.
down there. It was creepy. But
Mm.
this time, when it was me and this girl, we went down there, and I had a spirit box running, and the spirits were coming through the box. We were about to head into the dungeon. We were already in the basement, and the spirits were saying, "No, don't go." And I'm like, they're telling us not to go back there, you know. Well, we went to go back there, and I felt something kind of tug on my vest,
Hmm.
almost like, don't go.
Like yanking you back,
Yeah,
like.
it was. I was live when it happened, but of course my camera was facing this way. But I was live when it happened, and it freaked me out. I was like, oh my god, something just like pulled on my vest. And I
Mm.
feel like they didn't want us to go back there. But there's also said to be a gnome that runs around that jail,
Mm.
which is like an elemental, a Native American thing, is what everyone
Hmm.
says.
Hmm.
And who knows? Maybe the other spirits were trying to warn me, that gnome's back there and he's not nice. Don't go
Mm.
there.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing that when you in a place when happens or something that died or somebody that died, that it creates a magnet for the spirits that are there, and then you get the dark ones and you get the weird ones. They all kind of like congregate in the same area. It's just it's just interesting what you find out
Hmm.
when they're all together, and then you see that there's usually a guardian or something that holds other spirits back that won't let you talk to the ones that are there. So you see that there's that there, and then there's a hierarchy of something else that's also there too, and you get these other spirits that will say hi to you, but they're not willing to come out because the guardian is not always protecting, is almost like saying no, you can't talk to them, like. And they'll either be angry, they'll be not always submissive, right? Not always submissive, but they'll be kind of like what are you doing, like, here, what do you want? They'll act like that, and it's just a range of everything. What you
Mhm.
find, and it's just wondering, like, why are they in this area? And it's like you could ask all these questions to them, and they're not going to tell you anything either. They're not going to. What do you want to know? I just want to know. Can you tell me? No. Okay. So yeah.
I'm always interested in places where there's always one spirit that seems to be the boss of the other
Mhm.
spirits.
Mhm.
Where it's just like they have to have that spirit's permission to talk. If it
Yeah.
doesn't want you to talk to the people, it
Mhm.
won't
Mhm.
let them. I'm like, who is this? How do they have so much power over other spirits?
Yeah.
He's almost like the pod boss
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
who is
in a prison or a
Yeah.
jail. You got that
Yeah.
one pod boss that won't let you talk,
Yeah.
and you got the one spirit that will just like stop all communication.
Dominate everybody in there.
that's what I'm always wondering. I'm like, who are you and how do you have this much power over different spirits?
Yeah.
Mhm.
What is your bucket list?
I'd like to go to Alcatraz. That's a prison I'd like to go check out.
Mm-hmm.
I like to go to Japan to the forest.
Mm-hmm.
Um, man, there's so many. I've been to so many places, but there's just so many. There's so many more I haven't been to. I'd love to go to Ireland or Scotland to the castles.
Mm-hmm.
Transylvania, I want to go to that castle.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
over there, medieval times. I want to go.
Yep. I think Transylvania's kind of like on my bucket list too.
Dracula's
Mhm.
castle is on most people's list just because it's also supposed to be one of the most expensive castles in the world, too.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah. It's kind of interesting. Antique shopping. I enjoyed Alcatraz. I enjoyed Alcatraz. Yeah, Alcatraz is some. It's just a different environment.
Surrounded by all
Diff-
that water, all that energy.
Any, anyways, Mandy, it was really great having you on the show today.
Yeah.
We'll have to
I-
have you back another time.
Yeah.
yeah, maybe we can get all the sisters on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never know when I can get one or two or all, just me. So, but yeah, I'm happy that you guys reached out. This has been really cool. Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I This is my first podcast ever in Japan.
Yeah.
You got to come back.
Yeah,
Yeah. So we'll have to set up a part 2.
I've got so many more stories to tell.
Yeah. And then you got to come and visit us.
Yeah,
We'll
definitely
have
want
a great time.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
We greatly appreciate you taking the time to come on
Yeah.
here with us today.
no
And
problem.
thank you. And have a great evening
I
when
will.
your
Hopefully, you have
investigation.
a great investigation tonight
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And if anybody's interested in a mediumship reading, you can contact me on my page on Facebook, Intuitive Medium Mandy. And you can
Mm-hmm.
also follow Ghost Sisters. We're on all social media, but we go live on TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook.
Yeah.
Definitely check her out, you guys, if you haven't
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
And everyone else out there, bye. We'll see you next time.
Bye bye.